All right. So round 6. This was the second game on Thursday, and I was facing a 23-30 FIDE master with, I think, maybe a norm or 2 for IM. Anyways, tough opponent. He plays d4, which I knew he does, so I was kind of expecting this opening. We play the Queen's Gambit, exchange variation, bishop g5, we defend the d-pawn, e3 is all very heavily played theory, h6, sometimes a useful move. You like well, sometimes the h-pawn is out of the way already, like the battery comes here, but also you do have a option of playing g5 at some point, and white almost never takes instantly anyways. But yeah, something like a g5 at hand, breaking the pin is always handy. Of course the bishop could go on this side too, but then you can just, for instance, play bishop d6 and challenge it instantly. So, well, we break the pin anyways. And yeah, usually white prevents the bishops appearing here. They have the ability to go for the minority attack plans. High castle. It's a move you want to do anyways. White builds up here. Still haven't committed with the knight. So it could be anything. Or rook e8 is a move you almost always do anyway, so it's a non-committal useful move. See where white lines up, and then they kind of reveal their hand. So the knight goes to e2 instead of f3, usually signaling that white wants to go for the Botwinic plan of f3, e4 eventually in the center expansion instead of the, for instance, the minority attacks. I mean, it's still possible to go for this plan too with the knight here. It's just a little bit more rare. Well, knight bd7. The problem, of course, with the Queen's Gambit is this bishop. Like, if you could easily trade it somewhere, you'd be happy, but it is blocked by this pawn chain and has no really good prospects anywhere here. Sometimes you can stick it here where it's decently out of the way, but of course it's not well placed there. Anyways, we play the knight first. The knight did block the bishop. You could maybe think about playing the bishop here, but I feel like it's a bit on the way. And there's some chances that it could, like, you play the bishop first and the knight, let's say white castles. There is some, I think, lines where this could even happen, that you could play it this way, or it could just, on the other hand, sometimes be on the way of the expansion too. But yeah, this would instantly threaten to trap it, and well, I guess this should be fine, but yeah, the bishop is not well placed anyways here. It might be more useful to just leave it there and think what you'll do with it later. Also, we have other plans, assuming this goes where I hoped it was going. So castles. And okay, now it's hard to come up with a useful move for black. I mean, I think I'd make the best move here. Like, you could play it for the normal kind of remaneuvering here, with the bishop. I mean, the knight can't go here anymore. That's one downside of the h6. But there is like probably more useful common against the knight f3 lines, where you go here and go for the trade of the bishops, which would get rid of this. But it's not good plan against this setup from white. And also the knight sometimes wants to be able to jump to this side if needed. I don't know, the queen doesn't have a useful move. This bishop is perfect. This is probably possible. Knight h5 is probably a line. This is definitely a line. And we kind of instantly make it a little harder for white to play their central expansion, for instance. This is decent, I think. It's not what I wanted to do. The normal stuff like the Lasker plan isn't that great against the knight e2 because, well, these guys get traded off and then maybe they play the same plan here and the knight just ends up on the way of the, like you keep free tempo there, or well, you take there, they take there, defend this. It's not really a solid square for black in this plan. Also, they have the possibility of, let's say, JJ, chop, 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 and something like this to pressure here. Maybe F3 eventually and stuff like this. This is, I think, how I played against my, well, not this tournament, but my last round opponent. In our previous game, I mean on the white side. I think it's almost this position. Well, very similar anyways. Anyways, I chose A5. Even though I'm not really suspecting my opponent to still go for the minority attack here. But it prepares them queenside expansion here. White is gonna go here, and that usually is the or a very good plan often to meet that. Like we just push all our queenside pawns and explode the center, because this does weaken stuff here. So this is, I think, good. My opponent played rook e1. To be honest, I was kind of out of book a bit here, even though I knew this is how it's gonna go, kind of, but I was kind of expecting the maybe the more common move f3 here. So that I wasn't really completely booked up. This is the second most popular way to play here. f3 is way more common. So after this, I still like if f3 happened, I was gonna play b5, and this is much better when this diagonal has weakened up. Like we wanna play c4, well, maybe b4 first. Attack on the center and the queen side. We are not really ever equipped to attack very well on this side in these lines. So there are more pawns here and we'll explode the center and make it crazy. So, well, the downside of I think this is still the best move, but it's not as good when this diagonal has not been weakened yet. My opponent could have played this way and then we probably transpose to something more normal, where I'm not sure the rook's actually placed rightly here. I think often it does go, for instance, if they start with f3 here, b5, usually the bishop comes here first to kind of like solidify stuff here, and I don't know. Somehow I feel like it's more common to the rook to come support this pawn. But even here white could probably, or black could go for the same plan of playing for the light squared bishop trade this way. It's how I did it in the game. Alright, well, this is fine. b5 is fine, but that's not as good as it would be against f3. It's still fine. Computer says this is level. And then they played instead of f3, they go for this plan, which is usually tries to punish them if black plays too early here. So the point they are trying to make is that they are gonna play for some kind of positional grip against the c6, which is backwards. But the downside, of course, that it's not really, we can always push the pawn. Of course, that leaves us with them isolated d pawn. But I think this is very tactical line and not very positional in a way that the positional weakness, for instance, descending up as a backwards or descending up as isolated pawn, are supposed to matter too much. well, they did in a game and I lost the pawn. So I messed up things. So here I played bishop a6. Getting rid of this. I think best would have been queen b6. It's a little more flexible. I can still play this, I'm supporting this, and it's probably like if white continues with their plan of bringing the knight towards here, we can bang the c5, and if they take, we take. We'll get this with the knight. Well, they could, of course, go here. Trade there, but... well, I don't know. Maybe this could be annoying too. Even denying the trades now. No. I mean, this is a big threat. b3 maybe. Still trade the bishops here if we want to. I don't know. I feel queen b6 was probably better. This is not horrible. It's fine. Of course, they can't take here without the bishop hanging, and after they take, my rook defends the pawn, which is funky, I know. Rook looks silly, but I had some dreams. I was gonna play c5, and I don't see how he stops that. So I had some crazy dreams of swinging the rook around and just checkmating my opponent. Well, obviously that's not gonna work out, but... well, they are consistent that knight is jumping towards the c5, b3, where it's a nice place for the knight. So I'll thrust the c5 in while I can. They took. I took with the knight. Of course, here we are kind of... this bishop is a bit overloaded, but the rook comes to rescue. So they took here. And now I can't, of course, take here because we dropped the silly knight, but I had the rook here, so I don't have to double my pawns. So at this moment I was feeling like, oh, this is going fine. I have my isolated pawn. It's, of course, a long-term weakness here, but I was thinking that this is gonna somehow work in a nice possible attack at some point. And this is fine. But here I should have done something else. They played rook knight b3. So this is good, this is good. I was thinking this for a long time, then I decided that no, rook a1 is good for white. And then if I have to go here, I'm not well placed. Even this is fine. Apparently you can even go here and you have the rook c6 to win it back, and this is defended. And of course, if they take here, I mean, we have the weakness here, but maybe we get our attack going eventually. I mean, the knight can always come defend. Well, anyways, this is what I should have done. Or taken the b3. Even though this is what I did not want to end up in. But apparently this is fine. Like, I felt this kind of stuff is miserable. I'm with isolated pawn that is now well blockaded, but computer says, nah, don't worry about it. You can take here or even play rook here maybe, and then threaten to take it, and now we are threatening to push this forward. And this would be fine. Dead equal apparently. But yeah, I didn't really think about it. I thought that this here I have just a passive position in a way that I can't do much, but it's holdable. But yeah, I don't really want to go for it. So I played queen here, which of course has the downside that very hard time hanging on to this guy here now. because if I take here, there's always this annoying in between move here, and this dies with check, and I have no good moves with this knight. And I was thinking that I can maybe defend this once, but then they attack it again, and then it's very hard, like, how to defend it second time. I can't go here, and if I go here, I block this knight defenses. Not sure, like, maybe here I could have, like, this is probably not possible, because now I would have had this takes here, and we can save the knight. This would be actually better for black. I don't know, this also looks kind of funky, to be honest. Like if maybe this and then bang. Yeah. Now again, the problem is that this guy actually, this kind of stuff works when you look at it afterwards with the computer, but during the game this did not look like a way that I can play. Computer doesn't care. Anyways, I took here because I saw that now if he does this move here, I can go here. And then now if he takes there, I'll take with the bishop, and then we defended our knight. Like there's an X-ray here. But this would have been still okay for white, but... And we did lose a pawn here. They can just defend the knight, and this goes, well, almost similar stuff to the game. I lost it as isolated pawn, so they could have still taken there. They took the knight instead. It's still fine. And now I can't really hang on to the pawn, so I decided, nah. Okay, their extra pawn is gonna be on a 4 versus 3 on this side. The downside, of course, is that that would not be the worst case in the world. Of course, it's bad, but the annoying part is that the knight is here and the pawn can defend it, and the knight is quite annoyingly centralized there. Funnily, the computer doesn't really think that's too much of a problem here. I played here. Apparently this was somehow better, but like somehow this is fine, and now we are threatening to take here and there, and they take there, we take with something, and okay, it's probably a hard conversion for white, the extra pawn. Anyways, I played here. I still had some ideas with attacks here. I probably was quite optimistic in this game, even though I was down a pawn all the time. Okay, during the game I didn't like this move, because I did come here for a reason, that I defend the bishop. The downside, of course, is that if I too early go here, again, no, computer says this is horrible, to be honest. Like this just somehow wins for white. Rook swings in, and it's no good. But this is how I thought during the game I should have played. I played bishop to d8, kind of like trying to dominate the knight in a way. Of course, you could say the other way, that the knight is dominating my bishop too, which is kind of true. And the knight is centralized and great. But I tried to play around it. Of course, the downside is that my rooks are now completely disconnected. So they played f3. Now you start to see that there's some weaknesses coming here. Not that I can do much about it yet. Well, I'm going to the C file, and they are just getting out of checks. Useful stuff. Again, okay, here in the game I went here somehow this is better, but didn't really understand much of it. So I looked at this with computer, what should I have done, but it gives some lines where we play like this and like even blundering this. Of course, there is always the in-betweener here, so it's not really a fork, but it's a weird line. And apparently this kind of stuff would be dead equal. I mean, here I could actually understand that we have some nice compensation. We have our active rook that we can go after their weaknesses here, but no. I wanted to connect my rooks eventually anyways, and also this had some idea that I want to provoke some weaknesses. Even though those weaknesses would have been pretty good for white, just those plans were really dangerous. So I connected my rooks, they pushed my bishop around, and then I came back here. I was also considering this, trying to provoke some more weaknesses, but I don't think he's gonna play the fg3. I mean queen f3, playing for this or stuff like that. The bishop is... the knight is just dominating the bishop. It has no solid squares. I like when went bishop e7, wouldn't probably mind the trade because the knight is so annoying. They push d5. Well, I don't know, maybe eventually they'll push through there, and that's what I was really afraid of. So I got out of any kind of that these things don't happen with checks, or maybe at some point this doesn't happen with a check. Alright, this is technically loosey-goosey now. But of course if he takes, we defend it, and it's promising, but I would always be happy if I got rid of the knight. It's more of a problem than the extra pawn is, in my opinion. Anyways, they played f5, just coming through. And then I went this side on the bishop. I did not like to go passive here. It looks like defensive, but I don't know. Instantly it doesn't work, but like something like this. And I was kind of hoping that maybe we get this square and somehow like start to pressure here if he does this. White of course does not have to hurry. He can prep stuff with this or that or this or something. Maybe the queen goes somewhere too. Alright, so bishop g5. And then they played rook fe1. I think they just want to pass through there. Queen f3 was again maybe a better move. But I think he just wanted to keep this dream alive here. And how funnily here I think something like rook c1, even though it's kind of counterintuitive to go for trades, would have been the best move. Apparently it would be dead equal. We're trading this and taking there. We can just take here and bang and queen c6, or this happens, bishop f6, takes and we are back rank saves the day. Have some perhaps suddenly coming up here. Of course this is impossible to calculate. Does the king get away? Far away. So I did not even consider this. Well, I maybe have looked at it and instantly rejected it as like a no. Probably should not have, but somehow it felt counterintuitive to me. Trading down a pawn. Computer says do it. Well, I played for just fighting for this. And then they played knight c3, which I don't think is a good move. It was also kind of low on time, I think, at this point. Yeah. So here I got really hopeful. Sadly, this does not work, which I chose in a game. I don't know why I didn't see the easy move here. Queen b8. So this is trying to relocate here. Freeze the queen, freeze the queen. Wants to go here. This is pinned, but this would have been a easy move. Now we're trading this and we are trading that. I got really excited because I saw this move. Of course they cannot play g3 because then discovery is bang bang, I win. So they have to uncoordinate the rooks because otherwise I take here if he goes somewhere else. And then I saw this move. Still the queen b8 is fine. But I thought like here, and then I saw that also that the original idea that I thought like the knight b5 here and he forks me, but I can just take that guy away. Unfortunately he has this other fork here, and this is more annoying, not because it's a fork, but I thought this is all good, but I have this move. This stinking knight here defends the rook for temporarily, so of course if he took here and I take here, I'm completely fine suddenly. But he can kick my queen around while this is defended for a second. And then kick me away, and this would be where we went on. I thought I can hold on. Well, we played it a little differently. I took here, I saw this. Apparently I should have gone for this here. Even earlier it was better. But yeah, I thought this is hold up, and it probably was at some point, but this just does not work. So I saw this. I kind of want to provoke the weakness here. And I didn't want to take. The queen holds this so they can play here. Then I have to go somewhere and they'll take and take and take because this is not a check. That's why I did not take on g4. Yeah, the alternative is going here, provoking both moves, and then going here. This is the same but with h3 as the game went on. Still white is winning, to be honest, but I saw some ideas based on like this one, and for a long time I hoped he would have to move, and then I was thinking that I'd have some nice play with this, but apparently not even this is gonna be anything. King just goes somewhere, and now white is fine. I decided that I want to keep the h pawn there and then just get the g4 in. I calculate all the way here and here, and then I get this pawn, and here I thought white has to play here, missing that they have a nice in-betweener b3. Okay, they have also other moves too, but b3 is just annoying because I have no good squares here. I have to go here. And then they can take here. And well, this is how the game went. Bang, rook g8. Does not look good. My good part here is that if he pushes the pawn instantly, I could at least take here and hitting this, pinning this, would be fine here. The king is quite open, we can probably harass it a lot, and I have connected passers here, even though this is dangerous. Computer here points out that white can just instantly win with g5. Looks crazy, free pawn, but you come here, threaten to take and checkmate. So I don't know, bishop has to move somewhere. Rook dg1 threatens to hit here, and it's just over. Nothing you can do about it. And of course, yeah, the bishop comes here, they can just take here, or maybe take here first, though, so we don't even allow any checks on the back rank. Bing, bang, bong. Bang. Bang. I don't know who goes where, but mate will eventually happen somewhere, somehow. Yeah, I mean, he missed the g5. Luckily for me, this is the 40th move. He didn't have that much time. He just went here, defended the pawn. Well, I have to get my queen in, and also I wanted to get the b-pawn here. And here it's... white is still better, but I was kind of optimistic about this. I'll take the pawn. Yeah, the pawn was also pinned to the queen. Alright, so they win the pawn by force. I went back here, defended my b-pawn. They took, well, I said no, queen trades. And again, yeah, it's not a good idea. Apparently this, for instance, is losing. This is, I think the king just comes in and, I don't know, harasses my bishop around and is not stable enough to hold. So queen stays on. I come here. I'm gonna go do stuff here. Maybe rook f8 was better. I mean, of course, this is the natural way I want to check here without annulling this, but somehow I was thinking that this is fine. But apparently here I would have had rook f4 and if it takes, I'll take, and suddenly it's somehow now equal. Even though I don't know if this is at all possible to assess this kind of nonsense here. Or maybe rook c1 threading this. But yeah, apparently this is all good and dandy. Anyways, could not really figure it out. I saw ideas here, and yeah, here. I can go here. I wanted to go here. Also threaten the pawn, of course. So they defended it. And now this looked really tempting to do. But then I saw that, oh, this is gonna be rook bc2. And then I'll take. And they'll take. And I don't know, play the rook somewhere. And again, we are in this kind of a, like the opponent on b4. Bishop here. And this is no good. I mean, eventually their king somehow gets in. Maybe they offer a rook trade there and... horrible. So I saw that this is not gonna do much, but thought provoking h3, which I could have provoked much earlier too, would be worth something. Like we weaken this square maybe for future. I mean, this kind of was my downfall, trying to attack in the end. This is still fine though, h3. I went back to allow any checks and queen trades here. And the king comes here. So they played rook a2. Now, I think this is the last critical moment of the game. I should have played b3 here. I was calculating it for a long time, but I didn't really see how the pawn lives. Like this would be okay. Not that one, but rook a here. But apparently this and then, I don't know, queen goes somewhere and we'll check, and this is fine somehow, but try to figure this out. I saw this is dying, but then bang, and well, I don't not really seen this one, but computer says this would have been the way to go. Is figuring out where I have counterplay. Impossible to me. I just saw that maybe the pawn dies. So instead of pushing the pawn there where it's on a light square and not defended anymore, which I should have done, I just played the rook queen down, stopped any rook trades here. They played rook a7. And I played rook f8. I mean, already was hard calculating. Apparently it took me ages to convince myself that this is fine, that if he goes here I can go here, and this leads to a... Oh, this would lead to an easy mate here, but... Yeah, I mean, this is just easy. I was calculating all kind of nonsense there. Like here, and... rook takes, bishop c5. Would be good. Well, obviously my opponent did not play this, which would throw away the game. They just centralized the queen. And here I should do something else, anything else that I did. I was too optimistic here, and I like tried to use the square we used here and hoped I have some counterplay here or there, and there's no more rook f2s happening, but I obviously missed something horrible here. Queen just comes here, threatens checkmate, queen trade, and that's not even the worst part, because I lose the pawn afterwards too. Well, I've kind of continued few moves out of momentum, but I was pretty sure I was lost, and here I don't want to try. The queen is just gonna... king is not stable anywhere, and this guy is just gonna come somewhere, and it's hopeless. Annoying game. But yeah, somewhere around here. Yeah, the b3, b3 was critical. Also, I was calculating this, that is this a way to go? I was not sure, but apparently if he goes for the rook trade here, I can chop. These are where I wasted a lot of time. Like, is this a fortress? I came to the conclusion that it's probably not. Computer says, nah, it is. I think here you can go here, maybe. b2. Maybe even some kind of threat here, and maybe white has to just take a perp soon. Oh. Queen b5. You go here. Check. Probably ends the game there. There was some line where you could also go somehow like was it this position or this different position where you could just go rook g6, some order where you could go rook g7 and let this pawn go and play rook here and king here, and somehow this was fortress. Like, we just keep the bishop somewhere around here, and or even here. Probably better to keep it here actually, so we don't allow any h4s. Of course, white could probably go here, and I don't know, maybe we want to provoke this. Okay, never mind. Maybe you can still take it this way. Pawn. Or maybe even here and here back. Yeah, I was looking at the computer, thought this is a fortress. You do it this weird way. But also I was kind of looking at this stuff here that you can... Is this a fortress too? The pawn is still here where it's defended. And probably I can still go for this kind of setup here. Distract the queen, and then, well, this would probably be easy if you just trade these guys. This I would actually start to believe, but I didn't see ideas with the rook here, and defend the square this way, which computer came up with. Not that I was guaranteed at all that he would have actually gone for this in this case. But yeah, I decided in the end I was not convinced, because I didn't see how stable fortress there. because I missed these ideas. But yeah, b3 was the best. And here I could have still hold on with something like bishop c5 or something. Even though white's still better here, but fight goes on. But yeah, h bishop move, blundered it all away, missing this. Because I saw it even earlier that when the bishop was here, I was looking at this move. That makes it even more annoying. Like at this point, I was looking at this move here, and then I, well, came to the conclusion that we can, of course, easily go for this because this is a mate. Horrible. But then next move I missed that the queen actually can come. Like it did one step here and then distracted me enough that it can't go there anymore. Moved already. Can't move anymore. Stupid. Anyways, that I did enjoy that game. Even though the opening was a kind of a mess and I lost a pawn. And it was a long struggle that ended in a misery. But I still enjoyed it. Like I liked this kind of a long games. And in a weird end games. Anyways, yeah, here I resigned. Alright, so that was round 6. Yeah, second, it was a long game, like I think close to 5 hours at least. On the second round also on the day, so I was pretty exhausted. Anyways, enough excuses. Thanks for watching. Next round, next time.